Welcome to Retirement, the Great Escape Plan. I'm Jenny Brown, CEO of JBS Financial Strategists and author of Retirement, the Great Escape Plan. This podcast is about rethinking retirement, not just the numbers, but the life you're planning for. In each episode, the JBS team, along with special guests, will explore real conversations, real experiences, and the decisions that help people approach retirement with clarity and confidence. Because thriving should be fun and naps should be epic. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Retirement, the Great Escape Plan. I'm Jenny Brown, CEO of JBS Financial Strategists and author of Retirement, the Great Escape Plan. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here. Now, if you're thinking, is this just another finance podcast? Let me assure you straight away, it's not. This podcast is about real people, real lives, and real conversations about what retirement really looks like. Not just a spreadsheet, but in day-to-day life. Because retirement isn't an ending. It's a transition, a shift, and for many people, it's a chance to design life in a way that finally feels like theirs. And yes, because thriving should be fun and naps should be epic. So over the past few decades, we've shared the privilege of sitting across the table from thousands of people as they approach retirement. And almost everyone walks in with a similar question: do I have enough? But what we've learned is that that's really the real question. What people are often asking is, can I stop worrying? What will my days actually look like? Who am I if I'm no longer working? And how do I enjoy the next chapter of my life without fear of getting it wrong? That's why I wrote Retirement, the Great Escape Plan. And it's why this podcast exists, to bring those ideas to life through stories, insights, and honest conversations. And I couldn't imagine starting this podcast without the two people I work alongside every day. Joining me are my business partners and exceptional financial advisors, Warren, Hanna, and Peter Folk. Welcome, team.
Thanks, Jen. Great to be here.
Yeah, love it.
So before we dive in, I wanted to set the scene for today's conversation. Because at JBS, we've noticed something interesting. People don't just come to us for financial advice. They come to us because something is changing. They're nearing retirement, they're questioning what's next, or they've reached the moment of realization that life isn't just about accumulating, it's about living well. So today we're going to talk about why do clients seek advice, what retirement really looks like for the people we work with, and the concerns clients often carry, both the ones they say out loud and the ones they don't. So Warren, I'd love to start with you. When someone first reaches out to JBS, what do you think they're really looking for? Is it just answers to final questions, or is it something deeper, like confidence, clarity, or permission to feel excited about retirement?
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for the opportunity to have a chat today. Look, definitely when they first come to JBS, it's often that they've got a need. So it might be the fact that they don't know whether they do have enough financially. And there's no doubt that that is an important part of the initial conversation. But hopefully as the conversations evolve, you really get to get a deeper understanding about what's really important to them, what's the confidence that they need, the clarity of their position that they're in, so that we can have conversations that are really meaningful and get to really understand what's important to them and what's a priority for them in their retirement. Because often people are so focused on getting to the retirement sort of finish line, they're not really sure what to do after that. So, yeah, I guess that's probably the main reason for them reaching out initially.
So, Peter, I'm curious, from your perspective, how do those first conversations usually start? And how do they change once a client realizes, actually, I'm going to be okay?
Thanks for having me, Jen. I'm really excited to be here. Very good question. I find that clients, when they come on board, as Warren said, there is that uncertainty. Do I have enough? Can I retire, and can I retire the way I want to retire? To me, they also have a mixed bag of emotions. So, the big part of it as well is that guilty piece about whether or not they've left it a little bit too late to start that conversation around having, seeking that advice or doing something about their retirement. Because I tend to find, we meet with people in all walks of life, and there are clients that come to you when they're actually knocking on retirement's doorstep, and they're now starting to go, I need to do something. And that's where, as you're working through the meeting, there is, you're working through different levels of emotions. There is that sort of, oh, maybe I've come to you guys too late. Maybe I've started this conversation too late, or maybe I'm just not doing the right things at the right time. And I should have done something, 5 years ago or whatever it might be. And our role in that meeting is to really talk to them about the position that they're in, what it is that they can and can't do. And in a lot of cases, generally find that clients are a lot harder on themselves than they need to be. And whilst, and we talk them through, and then towards the end, as you asked, it's that feeling of relief to a degree, because suddenly, in majority of cases, it's suddenly, okay, well, we can now put a plan in place, and I'm maybe not as far off retirement as I originally thought, or I've been doing some right things. And that's the thing, you get clients that come in and they're actually been ticking some boxes. They just need that extra help on the things that they don't know. And, you've then been able to give them that sort of clarity and comfort that, you know what, we can put a plan in place and I'll get to where I want to be.
That's really interesting. That guilt that you're talking about is a really interesting emotion that I must say I have noticed. It bubbles up. Not in everybody, but some people, and they often really internalize it and beat themselves up that, they should have done something, earlier. They should have, started saving, or they should have done, something else. And what they say, if you keep shouldn't, you're shouldn't on yourself. But, I find that really quite interesting. So, Warren, building on that guilt and that emotion, what have you found in various clients, and what other challenges and emotions have you found that have bubbled up to the surface over time? Sometimes it's not in the first meeting. It might be, 12 months or 2 years after we've been working with a client. What have you found there?
Yeah, reflecting on that guilt piece before I answer your question there, Jen, I actually was reflecting when Peter was speaking there about a funny conversation we had with a doctor client, maybe about a year into a relationship that we had, whereby she came to us and was saying the fact that we made this sort of conversation so much easier. And when she originally was engaging us, it was all about, well, I felt like I was coming to the principal's office and going to get in trouble for not doing the right thing from the word go. And I guess that's a real reflection for me on the fact that, even someone as educated as a doctor was looking at their financial position and feeling guilty that they haven't done something earlier or dealt with it earlier. But so that, I guess, is what I really like about our role, is the ability to help people get through those sort of conversations. Because often finance and discussions about your financial situation isn't something you have with everyone. It's very private and personal a lot of the time. So to be able to have those conversations and open up those sort of emotions is really powerful. To get back on other emotions, I guess other emotions, obviously, your working life is very much around the purpose and who you are and what you do throughout your career, and it's very much your motivation to get up every day. So there's a real sense of lack of purpose sometimes when people get to that retirement stage. So they bring that up. They talk about the fact that, well, what am I going to do with myself now? Being the CEO or the director or the whatever it is, that's, who I am and what I am. And if that's gone from me, who am I after that? So that's obviously one real challenge. There's also, and I vividly remember it, I think it was one of the case studies in your book, Jen, was around the fact that a client said to us very early on, well, this is all I've got left. And that's a challenge that people, have to overcome, is that, the money machine, you're no longer filling it up. Whatever comes out now is what you have to live on. And I guess that's another emotion that just has to be discussed and talked through and given confidence to. Because I mean, while we take for granted what we do and the fact that we do it all the time and we've seen and helped thousands of people retire, this is the first time they're doing it and the first time they're generally exposed to it. And so it is daunting in some regards, the fact that, you know what, I've now got to rely on all I've got left. So, yeah.
It's true. I really I remember that client. You know, you and I are sitting in the boardroom, and he just would not move his money out of cash. And it was that you know, flight. What is it? Flight or fright? Fright or flight? You know, it was just. It was like he was frozen
He was
to make
stunned, yeah.
any decisions, and so stuck that he just wouldn't take the next step. He knew he needed to. But just wouldn't do that. So, yes. So, Peter, with you, any other clients that come to mind of how you've helped them? I really guess transition successfully into that retirement from well, here I am, I've got all my super, or I've got my wealth, I've got investment properties, or I've got cash, or whatever it is, to then building a plan and then seeing where they're at, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years down the track.
Yeah, similarly, Warren touched on it before. The biggest, I guess, emotion that clients go through outside of what am I going to do with my day, because work does take up so much of our lives when you're going through that, is, as you said, it is a mix of, well, this is now all the money I've got. And what people are so used to is while you're working, well, you've got a known income and it's coming in regularly, whether it's fortnightly, monthly, whatever it is. And the biggest transition and I guess emotion we've got to work through with clients is, where's my money going to come from? So I'm used to getting paid, a monthly amount of X dollars. And suddenly they go, okay, I'm going to stop work. I've worked out what I want to do in my retirement. But then they go, where's the money going to come from? And that's where, clients that I can think of in the last few years, that's where there's been a lot of coaching around. Well, and I always use a tap analogy. I say, well, we turn the tap off from your employer, but now we're going to turn the tap on from whether it's your super, or, whatever investment portfolios or stuff you got, and give them that clarity. Well, here's how we're going to fund your lifestyle. And we talk them through, and then with a couple of clients I'm working at the moment, not only that, it's then also talking to, they're looking at doing big renovations on the house, or they want to do a big trip that's going to cost them, whatever it's going to, whether it's they're taking family overseas and things like that. And it's just really holding their hand through the fact that they can afford to do all these things and how it's going to work. And that's what I love about the role as well, is we're helping give people that real peace of mind. And we can really talk to them. And whilst I can throw graphs and stuff at clients, I think what clients really value the most is our own input to say, you know what, you can do it. Here's how you're going to do it, and you're going to be fine.
That is so true. And I couldn't agree with you more there. So, Warren, just building on that, how do you see clients change once they know that they really are on track?
Oh, it's a huge
Financially, I'm
shift.
talking.
Sorry?
Financially.
Yeah, it's a huge shift. It's a huge set in mindset. There's no doubt that it's a really powerful thing to be able to show someone that they're working because they want to, not because they have to. And so for mine to be able to sit there and say, well, we've done the work, we've built the portfolio, we've done the strategy, whatever it is. And now you can say to the boss, well, nick off, I don't want to work anymore. You actually find that they probably work longer because, that's their enjoyment, or that's their social network, or that's their peace of mind, or whatever it ends up being. But they can let the rubbish go at the door when they finish for the day. They don't take anything home. They don't have the baggage. There's a real mindset shift once they financially know they're in a position to be able to survive and achieve what they want to achieve. And you often find that they'll work longer, or they'll do a different job, or they'll do something that's really meaningful for them, as opposed to just doing it to get, through the grind of day-to-day life, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything to add, Peter?
Similarly with Warren, it is that mindset shift. And it's, we always say to clients, we want you working because you want to, not because you have to. And similar thing, it's to kind of tag on to what we were talking about earlier, it's what I love is when you're working with a client, you actually prompt him to say, come on, you can spend a bit more. You can really enjoy your retirement. I'm thinking about a client that I'm working with at the moment. He loves his travel. And almost every time I call him, he's traveling somewhere. And every time we meet now, he's saying, it's not important for him to leave a legacy. So he's sitting there going, well, let me know how much I can spend so I can just enjoy my retirement. And I'm not worried about if I run out of money, when I'm in my 90s, because I've lived an awesome retirement. And that's powerful.
That is so cool. And you're right, it's so powerful. So here's a curly one for each of you, and I don't mind who wants to answer first. What's been the hardest client that you've had to work with to get through that barrier from you knowing that, you're going to be okay, to them really believing that they're going to be okay. They've got enough money, as you just said, Peter, by that last client, they've got enough money to do the travel or, spend the money. Have you, either of you got, or both of you got, an example that you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, I've definitely got a couple that spring to mind when you say that. Probably the one that's difficult, as you said. She's a single lady. She's worked really hard all her life and put herself in the position that she's in, but she can't comprehend numbers. She's a very smart individual, and I can tell you she could run rings around me, especially when it comes to certain subjects and things like that. But for her, she just can't comprehend the figures. And every time I meet with her, I'm having to coach her and hold her hand and say, well, she can afford things. I'm always prompting her to spend more. And, every conversation with her, it's never a quick hello. It's always a bit of a coaching session. And the reason why that one springs to mind is linking back to what I said earlier. I can throw graphs at her. I can throw things at her and say, look, your money's not going to run out. But again, it's for her, it's my constant voice and constant feedback to her and advice that she can do these things. And that's when I say it's difficult. It's not that she's a difficult client. She's an absolutely lovely lady. It's just trying to get her to understand that she doesn't need to scrimp and save and do everything. She can do the things that she wants to do. And it's actually been awesome. If I say there has been a mindset shift recently where she is doing more and more and more, but that she always brings it back. Oh, can I afford to do this? Can I afford to do this? And it's just that constant, prod to say, yes, she can.
Yeah. And that's the peace of mind that you're being able to deliver to her, because I know exactly who you're talking about without naming names. And it's just, it's so powerful, as you said, because she's very much a creative, lady, and numbers just a struggle for her. So I get where you're coming from with that, and it's for her to have you in her corner, to call if she's worried, or have her kids call if she's stressing, then that is so powerful. It's really cool. I love those sort of stories.
Yeah, well, that's why I love doing what I do.
Yeah. Warren, now you've had some time to think.
Oh, sure. Well, I've got a few that I jumped to. One was probably similar but different. I had a husband and wife where the husband was really keen to retire, and he actually started retiring, but his wife just couldn't let go. And she was in a high pressure job and working long hours, and you could see the stress on her face. And it probably took about 2 years of negotiating through the numbers and discussing it, where the husband was almost asking me to help, to say, help me get her to stop working. And then, so we did it in a gradual process. We transitioned whereby the fact that she built up long service leave, she had extra annual leave, things like that. So we encouraged her to move down to 4 days a week and keep the same income. And then over time, we challenged her and said, well, okay, can we go to 4 days a week with less income? And then we went down the path of less work, taking time off. And then she actually took a decent overseas trip, went back and saw family in the UK, I think it was, and actually stopped. And then she came back and said, I don't want to do this anymore. And I said, well, here's the graphs again. You don't need to. So there is a mental shift that needs to be made, and an understanding of where you're situated is, and it can take a lot of time. It can take time to really comprehend the position that you're in and be confident. And that's why I guess working with clients over a long period of time, you get the runs on the board and you are able to show them that, well, you know what, when we started the projection, we were modeling at whatever, 6% or whatever, and now you're getting 8 and getting 9%. And that actually means the graph's better than what we said it was going to be 2 years ago. And those sort of conversations all help, because it is very difficult sometimes to let go, because you got to let go of the income, you got to let go of the security and rely fully on the strategy that's been put in place.
So what I'm hearing from both of you is it's not necessarily all about the numbers. It's a lot about the mindset. It's a lot about understanding that you're going to be okay and working through that emotional side to really get where you want to be.
Absolutely.
And to where you're so comfortable in yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, very
100%.
much so. It's about that confidence and coaching and education around what other people have done. I guess that's what people really are reaching out for, probably when they're seeking advice, in my experience. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with what Warren said. It's the mentality and mindset's the most important to it, you know.
That's cool. So before I close, is there anything else that either of you feel that you've got a burning, thought, or you've got an example of something that's just been awesome that you've achieved or a client's achieved, really, that you want to add and share with our listeners?
Probably not an awesome, oh, in some regards it's an awesome one, but I guess just reflecting on some of the emotions that people go through as they're, reaching retirement and some of the challenges associated with that. I guess one that really comes to mind is a client of ours who we had for a while, and had been really helping and got them up into retirement. And we were probably 5 years through retirement, and then he became quite unwell, and the conversation turned to, I know that I'm not going to be around forever. Is my wife going to be able to be looked after? Are you able to give me confidence that she's going to be okay? And the conversation really shifted around there, because he was the main financial decision maker, the main person who looked after the money and those sort of things. And he wanted some real comfort that we were going to be able to help and look after her. And I guess that's another challenge that comes, and we'll probably get to it as we get through the podcast series. But as you evolve and as you become older, life actually happens whereby other decisions need to be made around lifestyle and priorities and things like that. And his priority and his mentality was around, well, you got to make sure she's okay. And so that was a really powerful position, and really, in some ways, obviously really sad, but really, really great result that we were able to look after the wife and make sure things were in place, because he was so open and transparent when he hadn't even told his own family that he was unwell. So yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that is really powerful.
Right.
Peter, any closing comments or remarks?
Yeah, similar. It's life does throw those curveballs, and that's where it's powerful to have us in clients' corners where we can talk through what, if any, impact that really has on their situation. Do they really need to be worried about their family or the impact that it has? Because clients that pop into mind, we were able to take away the life threw them a curveball. We were able to take away the financial burden and make sure that was managed, so they could just focus on being with their family member. And that was their feedback. It was really like, we're really happy, really relieved that you guys are taking care of that, so we can spend time with our dad while he's still around.
Yeah,
that's
and that is so important, having been through that, with both my parents. I mean, especially, in the latter years with my mum, it is so important, and because you can't bring them back,
No.
you need to be able to know that you're okay and you can spend that time. So thank you both for sharing. So I'm really excited. And as we wrap up today, I really, for our listeners, I hope this conversation's given you something important. Not answers to everything, but something to think about. Because as both Peter and Warren have said, retirement isn't about having it all figured out at once. It's about starting the right conversations, asking better questions, and giving yourself permission to imagine what life could look like beyond work. And if there's one thing we see time and time again at JBS, it's this. Once people know they're financially okay, the real work begins. It's designing a life that feels purposeful, balanced, and genuinely enjoyable. So whether your retirement feels a long way off, just around the corner, or already underway, remember this. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a thoughtful one and confidence to adjust it as life evolves. You'll find helpful resources and links relating to today's conversations in the show notes. And if you'd like more insights and practical guidance or simply reassurance that you're not alone in this, then you can also find us at JBS Financial Strategists, JBS Financial on all of our socials. Next time, we'll continue unpacking what retirement really looks like, the myths, the surprises, and how to move from uncertainty to calm. Until then, remember, retirement is more about being prepared. It's about enjoying the life that you've worked hard to build, because thriving is fun and naps should be epic. Until next time, talk soon. Thanks for listening to Retirement, the Great Escape Plan. If today's conversation raised questions for you or simply gave you something to think about, that's a great place to be. Retirement isn't about having everything figured out at once. It's about starting the right conversations and taking thoughtful steps over time. You'll find helpful resources and references related to this episode in the show notes. For more tips and insights and practical guidance, we also invite you to visit the JBS Financial website, where you'll find a range of tools and resources to support you at every stage of retirement. You can also follow JBS Financial on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube for ongoing conversations, updates, and ideas to help you plan well and live fully. Join us next time as we continue exploring what really means to plan well, live fully, and enjoy retirement on your terms. Because thriving should be fun and naps should be epic.